Let's continue reaction to the story. Bring in our correspondent, Sarah Coates, live to us from the Israeli capital, Tel Aviv. And Sarah, we know, of course, that the announcement of this agreement is all but a first step. There still needs to be several other hurdles to get through, including having this deal approved by the Israeli cabinet.
You were certainly right, Ayanda, and that meeting is supposed to happen within the next few hours. All of these members of the Knesset will vote, and that is after another vote by the Security Cabinet. Now, what we are learning over the past few minutes is one of these far right-wing parties, the Zionist Party, that is run by the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, it is now expected to try and pull out of the government. It doesn't support this deal and believes that the war should be going on at full steam ahead. Now, if this is the case and religious Zionism does actually withdraw from the government, that alone would not be enough to topple the coalition. Now, if another party, let's say the party led by the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, if it also does pull out of the government, that would be enough to topple the coalition. But Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, he has been given a safety net, and that is by the opposition leader Yair Lapid and his party. He has said he will step in and stop this coalition from collapsing in order to get this vote through. But in saying that, this vote only needs a majority of people saying yes. It is expected to get that, but of course we will know more about this in the coming hours. So certainly a tense wait ahead, especially for the family members of these hostages that are expected to be released during the first round of this deal. That is 33 people. They would be released in a sort of a staggered form, some someday, more a week or so later. So once again, a very nervous wait for these families.
Certainly. Israel had initially mentioned that they're willing to continue waging this war until Hamas is completely exterminated. I think those were the terms that were being bandied about. I imagine there are questions now about what it is about this deal that's seemingly had them reconsider that commitment.
Certainly, and I think a lot of this can be put down to the pressure put on the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu by the incoming US President Donald Trump. We do need to remember what Mr. Trump said when he was voted back in. He said that by the time of his inauguration, if all of these hostages are not released, there would be, quote, hell to pay. So certainly there's been a big joint effort between the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration to really try and get this over the line. But once again, even though this deal has been approved, it still has not been approved by the Israeli government. So certainly very tense hours ahead. But you're certainly right in saying that we've been hearing from Benjamin Netanyahu over the course of this war, saying that this war will not end until Hamas has been totally destroyed. He also said that he believed that military pressure alone would be enough to bring back these captives. But certainly, as we've seen, that has not been the case.
Absolutely. We've also witnessed several anti-war protests since this iteration of the conflict really gained momentum. I wonder how you would describe the reaction from ordinary Israelis has been since the announcement of this deal.
I'd really say there have been mixed reactions here in Israel. There are, of course, many people who wanted this war to end, who wanted these hostages to be brought home immediately. But on the other hand, you have organisations like the Bereaved Families Association. These are people who've lost soldiers during the war, and they believe that this basically is a waste. They believe it's caving to terrorism. They believe that the war should be continuing and that doing a deal with Hamas is sort of dishonouring the memory of these fallen soldiers. So mixed reactions here in Israel, but of course for people in Gaza there have been widespread celebrations, people dancing on the streets amid with the devastation left by this war, which of course has killed 46,000 people and left billions and billions of dollars worth of damage. So bittersweet reactions really from right around the region. But of course, once again, we will know whether this deal will go through in the coming hours.
Absolutely. You speak about the carnage in Gaza, the UN saying there are 40 tons of rubble to get through on the other side of any kind of cessation of hostility. Sarah Coates, live to us there from Tel Aviv for now. Thanks very much indeed.